The thing is about touring, it's hard, but it keeps you fit.
Yeah. Do you do much prep work for that before you go on?
Diet.
You haven't been doing anything for it?
Diet change.
Right.
That gives me lots of energy.
Is that something you stick with when you're on tour?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, you're pretty ready.
You'd calls it the Gollum diet. I eat porridge and raw fish.
Really?
That's all.
That is pretty goldish.
Yeah, it is pretty I know, but I get loads of energy from it. It stops becoming a pleasurable thing, eating. It just becomes fuel when you're on tour.
Well, you burn so much, didn't you?
Yeah.
Even the travelling and that, it does take it out of you, I think.
It does. But you know, these days, the tour bus is like the only permanent home I've got apart from the Columbia. I'm a professional vagrant, man.
Traveller.
I haven't really. I've had to accept this about myself. I mean, this is my 5th year where I've not been living anywhere and I'm just bumming it. I'm living out of a bag, you know, this one. I mean, you know, I've got 3 trousers, 11 t-shirts, 2 jackets and 2 pairs of boots.
Do you still get the same romance out of that you got years ago? Because I imagine that's pretty much probably...
I don't know anything else. I can't imagine another life. I mean...
Do you want to play?
Why not? No one place has everything for me.
Right.
And then I get restless. Yeah. Like I've just been in paradise in New Zealand. And like the weather was really weird down there. Like for the first month, it was just cyclones. So I was so tired from the recording, I just stayed in bed for the best part. And then when the weather got better, all I could think about was getting back to the action, and the weather was really nice. And I left like a few days after Geordie, and went from 35 above to 35 below.
Some switch.
Yeah, and happy to be like punching.
Good.
Again.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, I mean, I could run away and live in paradise, but I don't. I think it's there's a moral duty to take Killing Joke out on the road in 2012. A moral duty.
Indeed.
I can't. I'm fucking buzzing, mate.
I was going to say, because the last time we spoke to you was around about summer, 2011, and I mean now we're getting towards spring. It's been a live album, new studio album, so you guys have been pretty busy.
Yeah, we're trying to work harder than we did when we started now, and that's a good aspiration. I mean, Geordie surprised me in New Zealand this Christmas by saying, let's go into the studio again this summer in UK or Czech and let's do another one. I'm thinking, fucking I can't even keep up with him at the moment. You know, I mean, the energy of creating and the joy of being in a band with your mates.
Yeah. It doesn't get much better than that, really, does it? Really?
It's hard, but it doesn't get a lot better. It's a privileged life. As Peter Hook says, it's the best job in the world.
Exactly. Before we can start off talking about the live album, now you've done it via a pledge system.
I only heard it last night, the night before last, for the first time.
Really? And what were your initial thoughts?
You see, Geordie's so different to the rest of the guys. His favourite album is Who Live at Leeds, and he doesn't like studio albums really. He likes just the live thing.
Yeah.
And so it's his gig really, the live album. It's Geordie. It's all produced by Geordie and done by Geordie really, you know. And he wanted to do it, and I love doing it because, well, the Raw Festival Hall was when I had my first vision with music, and to be on the stage there had much meaning for me because I was 5 years of age when I first went there, so it had much meaning for me.
It's amazing how those things from the past just stay with you.
Fuck
and
yeah!
Then something will trigger it.
It changed my whole life. I saw St Matthew's Passion there when I was 5, and it kind of it changed my life. And then to find myself there, well, it was an amazing experience. And to have Mike Coles projecting all the artwork on the back and everything. Of course, I was just faced with Georgian youth with their asses to the audience, just looking at the screen all the time. God, those guys are funny though.
So now, the studio album is the second one that you've done since the reformation of the original lineup. Did you find this an easier album to write than the first one?
It's harder, and it's getting worse.
Is that because the first one was sort of like the benchmark, or?
Oh, you mean the first album or the first?
The first with the since the line.
Absolute Descent, yeah. Mm. This album was harder, really, in a different way. The way we approached this album was more like 2003.
Really?
And less like the Absolute Descent album. Basically, we kind of essentially wrote all the ideas. We got ideas, but in different countries, and no one band, not all the band there at the same time. And then we all got together just for one day.
Right.
And put the same tracks down all live in one go. And that was it, out. And then I was doing vocals, and we sent 3 engineers mad. And that was it. And then I was sent mad by the album. Like when I left for New Zealand straight after finishing the vocals, I didn't stick around for the mix. I left it all to Clive.
Right.
And so did Geordie, because we trust him. And I didn't listen to music for 2 months.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then I heard the album 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And Geordie heard the album last week.
Really?
We love it.
That's crazy. So I read that you were quite involved in a lot of the musical arrangements on the new record, a lot more than normal. Did you have specific ideas that you wanted to get across to the guys with the direction that you wanted to take it?
No, it's probably because I was the only one there at the time.
Right, so you had a free rein. How does it work when you, because sort of like, you know, you've done this before, recorded, mastered, written in different studios, different parts of the world. Is that very much different to actually what a lot of bands do, is book the studio, get everything down, and then maybe go somewhere else to master it? Do you prefer working in different countries?
I do, I like it.
Yeah.
I do. And Geordie always upsets me by insisting that we do part of it in England. And you know my feelings about this place. I don't need to go there. But we always come back to England. It was seen for a part of it.
Right. Is there a lot of, I'd imagine that sort of like, you know, I mean, you've got some strong characters in this band. Is there a lot of healthy debate when it comes to writing new material? So dramatic, was it? Tell us about the fist fights.
Yeah, no, there's been no physical fights, so we're kind of beyond that these days. But no, it's screaming madness, and I can remember days going through 2 days on this album where everyone knows just keep away from me, don't talk to me, and fucking I'm just lying there and like extreme depression actually. When you're surrounded by the subject matter of Killing Joke really intensely for like days on end like that, it sends you a bit fucking loopy. It sends everyone a bit loopy. There's not a member of Killing Joke in the 5 of us that have been in the band, including Raven, that haven't gone through mental problems, psychiatric problems at some point, or many times during our career. It's a part of the process. And as long as only one person is going mad at any one time, it's okay.
It's dealable. You can work around that. Is that something that helps?
Someone, the law of averages seems to say that someone in the band is going to go through a difficult year.
Yeah.
So it's you have to have empathy for the other person somehow. And then you have to fight for your own space as well.
Of course, yeah.
So it's a traumatic experience, and it exhausts everyone involved, including management and engineers, and the whole thing is completely exhausting. But we all do it, including the engineers. We all do it because we get so much more back from it than we put in spite of the madness and the pain, you know. I mean, I learned many interesting things on this session. I learned, for example, that Clive, who's mixed 3 Killing Joke albums, I'd met him with his mum, with Raven, at Southampton gig when he was 14. I didn't know that. And I also didn't know that he's gone to our British concerts religiously since the age of 14, almost every London show that we've done. I didn't know that either, and that his perspective of mixing Killing Joke is from a live perspective of how he likes to see the band live.
Right.
So I didn't know any of that until the session. He's done 3 albums with us.
That's great. I mean, we only got the album today, so we had a quick listen before we come out, and the thing that struck us was it does have a very live feel to it.
Yeah, it does have a live feel. Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of energy.
Well, you can thank Geordie for that, because he's the one who really doesn't want a perfect studio album. He wants the live feel, and he insists on it. Live takes. No matter what we've written, whether we've written it in bits, in the end Geordie will say, right, let's do it all again. The same songs, and we have to go through it all, you know. And it's good. It kind of I don't know. It gives something to the recording. I think that the live approach.
Mm.
There's something about Killing Joke playing live. It clashes so gloriously. The differences of opinion, the different characters are so different, and they've got such different views, and it's the smashing of all these four Englishmen from 4 different parts of England with 4 different approaches coming together, you know.
It's going to be an interesting mix, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your tour starts before the album actually comes out, so can we expect to hear many new songs in the set?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? You're going to mix it up?
Oh yeah, we
This
are.
one?
Don't ask me what, because I haven't sat down with everyone and decided what yet. We'll do that day after tomorrow.
Right.
It's like that.
It really is that last draw straws.
Oh, no, you don't really understand what I'm saying about the trauma. The trauma is, for example, you know, when we got together for the 2008 tour with the original lineup, we all meet up in Spain. And somehow we've got to learn, we're doing 2 nights in every capital city of the world, and we're kind of, we've got to do a different set each night,
Right.
different albums. This is the kind of deal. So one set one night, and then a completely different set the other night. So we've got to learn 2 sets. And you get to the studio, and there's Youth and Big Paul and everyone, and then Youth says, no one told me that I've got to do 2 sets. I just want to jam, man. That's what you're dealing with. So in the end, we have to do Youth's jam,
And work.
and then when that's done, we can get on with somehow trying to learn 2 fucking sets. You know, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Don't even go there.
So you're going to be travelling through Europe again soon,
Mm.
with all the current problems that are engulfing Europe at the moment. Will some of the songs take on new meaning for you? Particularly some of the older songs?
Well, they do. Look at it now. I mean, you remember what the atmosphere was like before we went into the last Gulf War. I mean, you could see that they'd already written off on it. It didn't matter all negotiations. They decided they were weapons of mass destruction. We're going to war anyway. And it's the same this time around with Iran, isn't it? And so, well, you hear songs like War Dance, I think they're eternal, aren't they? You know, when do they stop having meaning? We haven't evolved to a Class A civilization yet.
I was going to say, does it sort of like fill you with a sense of pride that you actually were a band that commented on this sort of thing and it's come to fruition, or particularly as a father, does it sadden you a little bit that all these years on, the powers that be still don't seem to sort it out? There's still these major problems happening in 2012.
You know, I kind of used the music to, Killing Joke's music to go into my darkest fears. Everyone knows this, and we consciously do this. But that being said, most of the time I'm concentrating on solutions, not problems.
Right.
And when you have a personal choice of what you're going to do with your life, I mean, I decided that my children would be born in Switzerland and New Zealand, and with an emphasis on New Zealand, because I think it's a better country, and I can see 100 years into the future when I'm in New Zealand for some strange reason that I can't when I'm in other places, because the whole industrial infrastructure of productivity and these antiquated notions of growth that have got to go still sort of pervade in these industrial-based economies, and I don't think there's any future in it.
It's rare actually to find it because it seems to be spreading everywhere. It hasn't spread to that point in New Zealand.
Things are pretty bad there. It's just there's less people.
Right. So you have a bit more space.
I mean, the same evil is happening there that's happening here, but in a different way.
Right.
Things like the food bill in New Zealand, where they're saying that every farmer must use Monsanto feed by law. And then you see companies, biotech companies like Monsanto, that are using black water and private armies now to protect their interests. And we're going to see this more and more. We're going to see foreign corporations moving into our ancestral homelands, and they're going to be guarded by mercenaries because they cannot trust the people in those countries to protect their corporate interests. We're going to be seeing this more.
That's pretty sad. It's a pretty sad state of affairs.
It's not sad, it's just unacceptable.
With the new record, I mean, you said you always try to look for the positives. If people could take a message of hope from the new collection of songs, what would you personally hope that would be?
That you love them. Because the English is so fucking emotionally crippled. My mother gave me the first kiss on my cheek when I was 28 years of age, and my father shook my hand up until his dying day. We're an emotionally crippled race. So we can start with by telling people we love them. That might be a good place to start. And don't do the things you don't like doing. I didn't.
No.
I won't get out of bed if I don't like something. I just won't do. I'm one of those kind of people, I can't really do anything I don't like doing.
It's very hard to get the majority to change though once they've been put in that mindset.
We're so far past the tipping point. The kind of change we need is total. I mean, you know, when a nuclear weapon goes off, God forbid, I believe that there are forces in the world that will use the fear of the common man to instigate us giving away more of our civil liberties and being implanted because we're in such a fearful state. I believe that man will give away the last of his civil liberties when he's in a state of shock. And so there are Tavistock and policies of these big think tanks to create shocks, to keep people in a state of shock so that they become malleable and easier to manipulate.
Yeah, I can see that.
So when it happens, don't be shocked. Be resolute.
That's okay, you think, yeah. Excellent. I read recently that you're in the process of setting up, let me get this right, the European Pacific Academy of Renaissance Art.
Yeah, because I'm so concerned about the current educational system, and especially state education. Because, well, let's just have a look at what's happening in the United Kingdom. We would all send our kids to Eton and Westminster if we could, because they get the best education and they are taught to think for themselves, critical thinking, and that's why you see these ghastly little kids with a sense of entitlement that end up going to Oxford and end up being like Cameron and Osborne running this country, is because the state education system is there to create a new slave caste. And that's why there's an emphasis on all the STEM subjects of science, technology, engineering and mathematics, to create this new STEM class and this new slave caste, if you like. And so education is possibly the most revolutionary act any of us could be involved with. Because just by being involved with it, it says that you believe in a future for a start. And you know, when I think of how angry I felt leaving school with no exams and society having judged me worthless, there must be a lot of people who've got that fury that poor Geordie youth and myself felt. And I want to create an educational syllabus that based on the self-educating systems that Killing Joke put into play that allowed us to do all the marvellous things that we've managed to do. The idea is to give back and provide a service, and not just for children. I'm talking about adult education centres just as much as children, just as much. Education never stops. It doesn't stop when you finish university. It continues on till you're in the fucking grave, mate, you know. You know, trying to instill within people who've lost their self-confidence that most things are achievable, most things are possible, and if you look at the guys in Killing Joke, they're living proof of the fact. And so, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this because also, on the island I live on, it would provide the right kind of infrastructure for the community there. Right. It wouldn't. It's a nature reserve, and it wouldn't pollute anything, and it would bring the right kind of infrastructure to a small population. Right. And ultimately, I thought about it as not just in an educational mode, but there's so many people I meet who are tired, just tired of life, tired of everything, and I'd like to have a place, or places, a number where you can go and recharge your batteries, you know, and find some inner peace with this crazy world. All the pressures on people these days, they're in debt, they're struggling to feed their families. I see, every year it gets worse. You know, a few years back, it was just a case of an audience in the Midwest or of America, they could just either go to a gig or buy a DVD. They couldn't do both each month. And now they can't even afford to come to the gigs, and they're homeless, and there's a lot of people on the street. Just in this country alone, there's 25% increase of people living rough, sleeping outside. 25% increase since last year. Here. And people just walk by, don't they? They see these people and they go, oh, that's not me. No. And they walk by, there's no sense of empathy, is there?
Not for other people, there doesn't seem to be.
And it's interesting because the ability to empathise with other human beings is connected with the human orgasm. Right. Because when you can't open your heart until the pelvic region is open, and the reason for this, the physiological reason for this, is because when we have an orgasm, we release oxytocin into the brain, which is this, which makes us feel loving towards other members of who live on the planet. It makes us, they call it the hug impulse from oxytocin, and that's released when we have orgasms. Right. So the kind of revolution I'm talking about is a socio-religious education revolution. That everything is inverted. That actually, in Marvin Gaye's words, we need sexual healing. And there's a direct correlation. There is a direct correlation between sexual repression and fascism. Wilhelm Reich did, and many other writers have written extensively about this, and I'm inclined to go along with this. So, tie that in with the fact that when rhythm came into music, think of the 60s when rock music really kicked in, think of the liberation theology that happened at the time, in the swinging 60s. And this is when, really, there was real female emancipation, when women could decide not to get pregnant, and the pill and contraception and what have you. So rhythm is tied in with our sexuality, which is tied in with our essential impulses as human organisms. And we need a new structure of society that sees the human organism and its needs of, its primary needs of food, water and clothing and shelter, and sex, which is the other primary need, and not for procreation. The only way we're going to evolve from the me generation to the we generation is to release lots of oxytocin into into our brains, and societies that are going to change. The nuclear family's dead. It's a minority. We're changing. As man lives longer and older, one partner's not enough for a lifetime, as you yourself have discovered.
I don't know what you mean. He says his girlfriend filming. But you do see hope in general.
Yes, I do.
Still see.
I do, yeah.
You still see
I mean, the danger areas are going to be in population density areas, cities. Well, you have to think, if you don't get your food from the supermarket, where are you going to get it from? I want you to think about that. And the answer, of course, is in communities utilising their back gardens, parks, using every bit of green for food cultivation, like we do at home. We have there's a lot of poor people where I live, but the difference is that instead of having a graveyard, we've got communal gardens around our church. And everyone puts in a few hours, and you get your artichokes, or your potatoes, or your sweet potatoes, or your greens and herbs.
That's the way it should be. I mean, that's the way.
But it's so simple. Yeah. Come on, we've got all. The only problem is people's heads. It's a simply enough plan, you know, but people aren't doing it.
No, I think people would rather wait for the genetically modified burger to be produced, unfortunately. I mean, I don't think everyone's like that. You don't need everyone like that. I think you only need a certain percentage of people to change. And as long as there's a hope that there is that, then all well and good. But especially in places like developed countries, like London, I say developed, there seems to be a lot of a blinkered way of life. You know,
people don't want problems. They want to get on with their lives, and I don't blame them for that. The thing is, when people say to me, "Oh, next year I'm going to be doing this, and then the year after that I'm going to do this and that, and the year after that I'm going to aim to do," and I'm thinking to myself, well, I hope you're taking into consideration the fact that we're living at the end of a cycle, the very end of a cycle, like 11 seconds to midnight end. And I don't know, these days, I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think the way we've been living is going to be the end of this. You know, and we can't seem to dream beyond the notion of a central bank. We can't seem to think of a life outside of this. So I spend most of my time contemplating this, and not just contemplating it, trying to be part of it, you know? The way I live my life, it's not just the way you play your guitar or your music, it's the way you play your life. That's the art, isn't it?
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Well, you know, I'm an ultra-green communist. Ultra-green. That hates Karl Marx.
Really?
Yeah, I hate Karl Marx.
Okay.
I think he's the enemy of the human spirit. I read extensively his works and his rejection of metaphysics.
Right.
Which I cannot live with. I wouldn't be in the same room as him. If he walked in, I'd smash his face in. I can't stand him, and he had a really ugly wife as well. Spiritually ugly.
Yeah.
But you know, you just got to look at Wagner's life to know that music and politics don't work, or Bono, right? You know, so you won't be seeing me go into a political career, and I've been asked. Well, I'm not going to do that because I haven't seen one example of a musician that's gone into the political arena that's done anything good ever. And there's no reason to say that I would too, because I don't even believe in the system that I'd be part of. How can democracy work anyway if only 1% of the population can understand the complex issues of the day? Yeah, the only way it can work is if education, if we can educate and inform people. And that's the only way people can choose the right decisions, is by making informed decisions. And they're not. I mean, look at what's happening in America. Those cretins, you know, I've never had an affair, I'm a Christian, I'm this and that. These Republican cretins are going to be helping run the world at the end of the year. Oh, God help us. God help us.
The speeches now. just unreal. You wouldn't believe it, and unless you saw it, you just would not believe it.
I'm not going there again. I don't like it. I'm
No.
not going there. I'm not going there. I've just been offered like a load of money to speak for 1 hour. Fortune in America. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. I learned from Geordie Walker. It means no, and you can't buy me. So I don't want to go. I don't want to go to America again. I'm gonna have to break it to the band.
Well, I think Geordie will be on their side.
I think they all will be.
Yeah.
So no one likes going through customs in America anymore. The way they treat you there.
Well, I can
Yeah,
imagine,
bunch
especially
of
when you got to turn up
animals.
as
They're
well.
horrible. It's a horrible, unpleasant.
Uh,
We talked about it before, didn't we? It's an unpleasant process. I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable having the views I have and being in America. I don't feel comfortable.
There's a clash, isn't there, obviously?
Oh, no, I'm just talking about personal safety.
Right.
No, I don't feel safe there anymore. I've been shot at a couple of times in my career, and that was in the States. I missed both times.
Well, that's not a road you want to go down again, buddy, is it?
Well, no, and the metal detectors for the punters and the whole thing. I don't like it. I don't like the place. I don't like America. It's a failed experiment.
They seem to be losing a little bit of their grip on this world domination thing. I don't know whether that's a good thing.
Oh,
or
well,
bad.
you know what? We went to China the other year, and my advice is to go to America and then go to China. And now you understand why we need a strong Europe. You know, there's got to be some civilized part of the world, isn't there?
Well,
Well,
you'd
we-
like to think so, but when
Yeah.
you look at some of the things that are going on in Europe now, particularly in Greece and things like that. and
Oh, they have
places
all
like
those
that.
mass executions in China because they don't do it in front of the public anymore. But what's the difference in America? They go and sit and watch people being gassed while eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. Huh? And they do. They allow the person whose daughter or son or loved one's being murdered to come and watch the execution. They give them a meal and everything like that, and they get to enjoy all the proceedings. It's a sick, sick place. I'm so opposed to the death penalty. I can't. I split up from my first wife because she believed in the death penalty.
Really?
And she said to me, "What if someone came and raped our daughter?" Then I said to her, "They must be imprisoned for life." And I still don't believe in the death penalty, you know, which I don't, because it'll always be abused. You can't trust man, and it'll always be black, Hispanic, or underprivileged white people who have got no money for decent legal representation are always going to get it, aren't they?
Well, the jails are full of them.
Oh, we
now.
found out they're innocent. How many of those have we found? Oh, one after another. No. It's not civilized. There's a reason why in Europe we said no, and we must stand by that decision. Huh? And that's it. I never let. While I'm alive, I could never witness a European country or New Zealand or a country I love reversing back to the death penalty. Of course, California did this. It banned the death penalty and then went back to it. So, you know, and I remember when the debate happened in this country in the 80s when they were trying to restore the death penalty during Thatcher's time, and it got within 3 votes of it. It got within 3 votes of it, you know. And you had Conservative MPs who were going to all these dictators' countries so they could watch executions, see how it was done. Hey, I remember seeing it all. And then you had that company, what's the name of it? Bovis Homes. You ever heard of Bovis Homes in this country? Well, they got caught making execution gibbets for third world countries. And their motto is, "We build for people." Yeah. It's a sick old world, isn't it? Huh?
It is. And it's like you say.
You see, what we're doing in Killington with all the gatherers in our network, slowly but surely over 30 years, we've created another utopia in our own funny way. Not like that, like this. You know, or I'm just trying to get people's heads around the idea of eco-communities.
Yeah.
You know, where are you going to get the food from? At home. And what we've got surplus, we'll swap with the village down the road, and what they've got, they'll swap with us. You know, exchange, barter.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to start having a vision of how it's going to be when the shit goes down.
And like you say, you don't need everyone to change.
No.
As long as a percentage change, then there's always...
Exactly. Give me a class of 35 kids, right? Then we find out who the troublemakers are. I'll take them and you can send the rest away.
Yeah.
Because they're the people going to make a difference, is the troublemakers. And they did all the experiments in the Japanese prisoner of war camps. They found out the people with the alpha males, the troublemakers, and they took them out and the rest of them were like sheep.
You need a strong youth system, I think, and I don't think you get that now, particularly in arts as well. There doesn't seem to be the angry musicians with something to say.
No, they're complacent.
You know,
they're complacent.
I'll say what I'm told because I want to be a star. Yeah. You know, there seems to be a lot of that at the moment.
That's probably one of the worst trends I've seen is to have come from the punk roots where the idea of a rock star was anathema, and the idea of celebrities or heroes, no one could take this idea seriously. It was an anti-hero period, and that's healthy, because by having an anti-hero attitude, you're forced to rely on your own inner resources and to be the hero or heroine in your own epic of life. Yeah. And I like that. But now this trend of I want to be famous. I mean, it's the opposite, you know. And I remember seeing some papers from the Tavistock Institute, or was it the Brookings Institute, and they were saying basically these study groups were there to see how we could effectively control the population, and they were saying basically keep all art and music at a 6th grade level. And when we consider the X Factors and the celebrity shows, that's what they've done.
Very much so. That's all there is now, isn't it?
And so people are sort of smitten with this fame thing, and there's everyone in the band to tell you that that just doesn't sit well with me.
No. You
normally when it looks like it's getting too big, you know, when it looks like it's getting too this way, we're going too mainstream, I always do something to make sure that we don't.
We won't see you doing any country life butt adverts and anything along those sort of lines.
No.
I didn't think so, man.
No, I didn't. I mean, do you think Lydon let the side down when he did that?
Very much so. Very much so. Especially hearing the new material.
Yeah, but don't you think his music had let the side down ever since the second album? After the second album, I don't think there's anything relevant that Lydon's done after the first 2 albums, really.
No, I mean...
He's just been a celebrity, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's been everything he said he wouldn't be, in one sense, because we were anti-hero in that period. Now, in fact, he was in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here,
exactly.
I do believe.
Which is the...
yeah, so there you go. I mean, I never wanted to be a singer, as everyone in the band would tell you. I just wanted to be a keyboard player, it's just that no one else would sing. And I got landed with the fucking job. And so I'm a reluctant singer, and I don't know how I ended up. I just wanted to make music, but I don't like the rest of the shit that goes with it. It is possible to be talented and gifted, like in classical music, without the ego.
Yeah.
When you see classical music, you see amazing classical musicians. They don't have thousands of screaming people outside their dressing room or anything like that, and somehow they can be gifted virtuosos without all the rest of the wank that goes with it. And so, in one sense, you know, that's what I think of. You know, I like to think that everyone in Killing Joke they're approachable people, and if you stop any one of us, we'd probably go for a coffee with you and hang out with you and talk with you. They're most approachable people. In fact, as the band is, it's everything I could hope and dream for in a band.
You can't ask for more than that.
Oh, you can't. I'm blown away, mate. I'm sorry, I'm blown away by it.
Well, listen, Jaz, we're going to have to...
I think of me on Sunday.
An absolute pleasure.
It's Killing Joke's birthday on Sunday.
Really?
And it'll be 33 years to the day at 2 o'clock on Sunday.
I'll remember that.